Good evening, everybody. This is Casper from the Tropical Weather Threat Society, bringing you a tropical update regarding Invest 93L, currently moving across the north central portions of the Florida Peninsula. If we take a look real quick at the more of a zoomed in look, as you can see, the low level center has moved into in and around the region of St. Augustine and is still continuing on more of a west-northwesterly track. It did not drift down south last night due to the fact that we did not have a lot of thunderstorm activity associated with the mid-level center overnight, so we did not get some of this extra shear coming out of the northwest to help push down on the mid-level circulation, and the low-level circulation was more of the dominant steering feature last night. So the National Hurricane Center has got us up to a 40% chance of development over the next 48 hours and a 40% chance of development over the next 7 days. It does not have 7 days out there. We're looking at maybe 4 max, and this should have already kind of determined what it's going to be. 3-4 days, somewhere in that range. So, depending on the track. So, if we take a look real quick, the biggest threat and concern that I'm seeing with this right now is the rainfall. And I've got here the Weather Prediction Center's rainfall totals over the next 7 days. And I'm going to go through at 6-hour increments here and keep adding in. And if you notice, we do have a little bit here into the Panhandle region, not so much as far as inland goes, as you could see for southern Georgia and southern Alabama. Maybe some trace showers, but getting down here more towards the coastline of the Panhandle, we could see a decent amount of rain over the next 48 hours. It's not going to be a washout by any means, but spotty showers and thunderstorms and increased moisture in the region. But as we start to take this forward, I would like to point out here we are at 72 hours, and we're starting to get quite a bit of a bullseye here into south central Louisiana. And if I keep rolling this forward, you will see that by the time we get to day 4, we've got quite a significant amount of rain starting to develop here into south central Louisiana. And especially if I continue to take it out to day 5, we're starting to lose the system. It's starting to get pulled up to the north and to the east by this point in time. So the big question is going to be, what kind of rainfall are we really going to be looking at down here? And the threat level is increasing with time. Now, if I take the model blend and I compare that to the WPC and we run it out to 96 hours, we do not have that big bullseye that the Weather Prediction Center is calling for. So we'll trust the official forecast, but the model blend might be a little bit too smoothed out to where they take the larger amounts and then just kind of smooth it out and kind of spread it out a little bit. So we've got a maximum of 5.9 inches over the next 5 days by the model blend, but then we've got a max of 8.7 inches here by the WPC at the same time frame. So I'm leaning a little bit definitely more towards the WPC's forecast. Worst case scenario, I've seen from the National Weather Service office in New Orleans, thank you for sharing those graphics earlier to me, Keith, we're looking at maybe 10 to 15 inches of rain, worst case scenario down here. So all eyes on that spot. That being said, the excessive rainfall forecast associated with 93L, as you can see here, we do have a slight risk for the central portions of the Florida Peninsula, and unfortunately some slight risk out here into portions of Texas. But if we go into day 2, this marginal risk, like I said, it's more of a coastal region, depending on exactly where this tracks and where the mid-level center is. And I'll get into some very intricate details regarding this storm here in just a moment. But when we get into day 3, we start to see the slight risk developing here into coastal Mississippi and southern Louisiana. Day 4, though, is where I really have some concern. because we've already got a moderate 3 out of 4 risk for the potential of excessive rainfall and flash flooding here into southern Louisiana, south central and southwestern Louisiana, Lake Charles, Cameron, those areas getting up towards Baton Rouge, Lafayette. We're looking at some potential problems. And so this really needs to be monitored. Please, folks, do not drive through flooded roadways. We've already dealt with enough flooding this year. I've seen a graphic earlier today that the National Weather Service, and thank Dr. Trushula from Weather Tiger from this, the National Weather Service through July 15th has issued more flash flood warnings this year than any year prior up to July 15th. So this 2025 so far has been the year of floods. And, with up into the New Jersey area and the New York area yesterday, and as you could see, it slid down. We still got a moderate risk here into portions of Virginia today, and then a slight risk for the folks there into western North Carolina. And it's just a mess, folks. So please do not drive through flooded roadways. Now, taking a quick look at the University of Wisconsin, we do have our 925 millibar vorticity, 850, as you could see, it's pretty well stacked, 700 in the vicinity, but now 500 is offset to the south and to the west. So I'm going to pull up EarthNull, and we're going to kind of go through this. So right now, we are currently at the 250 millibar level. So this is approximately 6 miles above the surface of the ocean and sea level. Well, if we look, we have a very, very large high pressure right here. Now, this high pressure rotates clockwise, and you can see the wind field coming around in this general direction. Well, I'm going to leave this up, and then I'm going to come down to the surface, and I'm going to show you that the high pressure out here, the subtropical ridge, or known as the Bermuda High, the flow around this is out of the southeast. So overnight last night, we had our low pressure out here. We had our surface feature, and our mid-level was down off to the southwest. Well, the mid-level could not develop any significant convection overnight, which then made this flow here the dominant feature, and it has kept the surface circulation from diving down to the south last night. It has still remained at a latitude that brought it in here into the St. Augustine region. Now, here comes the question going forward. This is the scenario. I mean, we've obviously lost the scenario that I was discussing about yesterday regarding that the surface circulation making it down south of the Tampa region. All right, that seems a little bit, if we were to draw a line straight across from Tampa, we should not see the surface circulation, which is located up here. Let me get the surface circulation, which is currently located up here. We should not see it get below this line. That being said, the one thing that we're going to have to watch for is that the mid-level circulation and the low-level circulations are not vertically aligned, okay? So if I come up to the 700 millibar level, it really shows kind of the elongated nature of this low-level spin and the, for a lack of a better term, the incohesiveness of this system. So as we could see with the 850 millibar level, and keep in mind this is for reference only, it's not the exact location. The 850 millibar level is up here. Now if we drop down, the 500 is very disjointed. You only see kind of a peak in the winds right here. So we're looking at our mid-level circulation, and it'd probably be better if I come back over here because I could show it to you a lot easier on satellite. So our surface circulation is located in this region right here. Our mid-level circulation is located in this region over here. The question becomes, now that the surface circulation is over land and it is going to be traveling in this general direction, though the flow wants to keep pushing it that way. The high pressure with the mid-level circulation wants to track it this way and potentially give it a little bit of that component as well. Excuse me. The question becomes throughout the day, we get a new frame here, I got it on auto refresh. The question becomes whether this storm has the opportunity to get the mid-level circulation, taking a little bit of that extra flow and getting it down, so this way the mid-level circulation is over the open waters here of the Appalachian Bay. If the surface circulation stays along land and comes over the peninsula or the panhandle like this, do we get the mid-level circulation down here or somewhere off in that general direction? Do we get it to reform a surface circulation underneath the mid-level circulation? That's a question that the models are not really going to pick up on. The reformation of a surface circulation is very difficult, especially for the models. And it's almost like now casting in real-time forecasting. So the question of really is where this surface circulation is currently right now. How far south can this get? Cedar Key is located right here. Now, if you guys were in the live yesterday, you remember what I said with the three different scenarios, the Fort Myers, the Tampa, and then if it was even with Cedar Key. The question becomes, if it's up here this far, you still have potential land interactions here. That is going to play a factor because it needs the warm waters to really get itself going. In the meantime, if we look at Earth Null, and I'm going to take this out forward in time, I'm going to go out 24 hours. We're going to drop it back down to the 850. If you notice, we really don't have much at all. All we've got is a trough. We've got some uplift at the surface, 700 millibar level. This thing is trash at this point. But do we see something getting its act together associated with the mid-level? Now I'm going to go across another 48 hours. And as you can see, we start to get a little bit of organization with some type of low-level center. But we're going to have to reelcast this. We're going to have to nowcast this, honestly. Because of the fact that there's just too many variables and dynamics associated with land interaction and a potential reformation of the center. As this feature continues to climb out to the west, the influence of this southeasterly flow from the subtropical high out here is going to weaken. That is then going to it's going to be less force trying to drive the surface circulation inland. At that point, we could see something trying to consolidate itself in this region. The question of all questions becomes, where is the surface circulation? Where does it go? Is it over open waters? Does it get too close to the coast to where the land interactions does not allow consolidation and development to occur? There's a lot of factors with this. If this was down here and it was over open waters, yes, it would be an easier forecast. It would probably be Dexter and a stronger system at that point, but it would certainly be an easier forecast. Because of the fact that this is up further north than Cedar Key, and it is going to be running along kind of the very northern edge of the Gulf Coast, we've got to watch it. Now, regardless of development, whether this thing gets a name, tropical depression, whatever, what have you, it's going to rain. And if we look at the ensembles, This is the regular Euro 12Z run. You'll notice that a lot of them keep it up here in basically this zone. Never really gets it south of Tampa. Okay? I'm gonna do that same thing with the GEFS. We'll jump into the Gulf of Mexico. Notice there's nothing that really gets it. Everything here is in this zone. It really doesn't even get it south of the southern tip of Louisiana. So it's running out of real estate basically because Louisiana is in the way. There, granted, it's swampland, but it's still land. If we look at the European model with the AI, now this is where things get a little bit interesting because it shows that once we get out here in the region of Louisiana, that it could be a little bit further south and go below the southern tip there, the extreme southeastern tip of Louisiana, and then potentially come up into central or even western Louisiana. So the AI models are kind of leaning in that general direction of a little bit more of a southerly component, especially when it gets out here, getting closer to Mississippi and Louisiana area. Looking at the Euro's probabilities. Now, we're definitely looking at tropical depression winds, as you can see, 24 to 72 hours. High probability. Tropical storm, a little bit lower. We're looking at maybe about 20-25% at that point, as far as what the Euro probability is calling for. Now, there's many more models than just the Euro. So you never really want to trust it, but just kind of giving everybody an idea. As long as it stays close to land, the chance of getting a hurricane is going to be very low. It's not zero, but it's going to be very low. Now, I've got here the Google DeepMind model. And what I've done is I've pulled up and I've kind of set it in a certain way because I was very interested in what they're calling for as far as a southerly track. And as you could see, if we run it out a little bit, and really I just have the lines out there, and disregard this little observed sea level pressure that's not true. Now it's gone. So there's not a Cat 2 hurricane out there right now. But as we can see, we've got a lot of our experimental members that really want to get it into this region. Just a few of them want to give it more of a west-southwesterly component, which then brings it in at a little bit of a different angle. But if you notice the Google DeepMind model, the ensembles pretty much end when it gets an opportunity to come out over the open waters here with the surface circulation and then just pretty much dies going back over land and never making it back out over the open water again. Again, one model, one run. You cannot trust these things, and it's going to have to be a nowcast because if I turn on the Euro ensembles, you could see a lot different. All right, I can shut these off to make it a little bit more clear. These are the Euro ensembles, and as you can see, there is a little bit of a potential southerly, maybe a west-southwest component somewhere involved with this, and then brings it up. If I shut that off and just put in the high res, really? We're going to do this and kind of loop back and forth and up and down? No, come on now. This is definitely going to have to be now casted going forward. No need to pull them up right now because we don't have anything, but the hurricane model verifications, we can definitely take a look at anything that has to do with track errors or anything like that. So far, so good as far as the global models are concerned. There has been a downtick in the accuracy of them for yesterday. So, something that we'll have to keep a watch on. All models responded in a negative way. So, as you can see, every single model dipped down. So, the GFS is still running third. Or, yeah, well, tied for third. So, running even. We're just going to have to keep a watch on all these things as we continue to go forward because like I said, land interaction with this one is just a little bit too close. All right, let me check the questions if you guys have any questions. Yes, and it is my birthday. Thank you everybody for wishing me a happy birthday. I'm here with y'all, so we can have a good old time. I've been focusing on the weather pretty much the majority of the day. I'm not really worried about my birthday. It's in all honesty, it's just another day. But I do appreciate the well wishes. Taking a look at the dust model, our 0Z run didn't load. So we're running the 12Z run, which has a 5-day length to it. And as you can see, we got a plume. Pretty much going to die out over the Caribbean there, and another one that's going to be moving in over 5 days, and then a massive plume forecasted to exit the African mainland out here and moving across the basin. I know that I've heard some people talking about, oh, let's watch this thing here. It's a tropical wave. I mean, there's another one right there that's just exiting the coast. But if you look here, there's a massive plume of dust wave pocket kind of coming through here, maybe causing some increased shower and thunderstorm to Barbados and that area there. So if you guys got any questions on this, I'll be more than happy to answer them. We've got a flood watch, obviously, with the excessive rainfall. For the region, it's going to be a lot of now casting. Like I said, you could basically track it on radar. Where that mid-level circulation is going to end up is going to be where a lot of the flooding rain is going to occur. So please, folks, do not drive through flooded roadways. There's absolutely no need for that. We had our new Global Tropics Hazards Outlook get released today, as we could see throughout the basin. Take a look. Not much. So it looks like we're going to end up with a little bit of lull over week 2, week 3. It showing out here, week 2, that the Western Pacific is going to go absolutely bonkers. And then week 3, potentially, still kind of acting in that general direction. And starting to get a little bit of a signal back towards the EPAC. I'm sure that the folks there in Mexico are happy for the reduction in intensity that kind of nothing. So that is good news to report. The discussion is included in the post that I put up on the page if you guys would like to read this. I'm not going to go through the whole thing and read it out for everybody. Okay, let me see. I am going to... All right, we are going to jump out to the Eastern Pacific again. Nothing. Central Pacific, nothing. Those basins are quite quiet, thankfully. No, I don't even know why I got that up still. Taking a look at the satellite, you can see the intertropical convergence zone and the monsoon trough running across. We don't have anything of mischief developing out there. All good right now. Everything is going according to plan, nice and quiet. But when we get out here, so we have Tropical Depression 8. Now, if you remember from yesterday, this was Invest 96W or something like that. Now it's TD8. They just had Nari. They had a subtropical storm hit as well. Japan has been getting absolutely drowned. And the thing about this is that you've got this flow coming up from the tropics right here. And it is just hammering portions of Japan. I have seen some flooding, and poor Philippines are involved in this flow as well. And excessive rainfall outlook, big time, especially for portions of the Philippines. And as you can see, the shower and thunderstorm activity out here into the western Pacific. Now, let me jump back to the east, to the Atlantic. You don't see much of that activity at all compared to jumping out here to the western Pacific. It's definitely on and popping out here right now. The Madden Julian oscillation is here. I'll show it to you. As you can see, they're ready to rock and roll. It's in phase 4, getting ready to move into phase 5. The question is, will this actually get into portions of the Western Hemisphere? And I've watched it 3 times in a row now, to where it gets into phase 6, starts to get into phase 7, fails, jumps right back into the circle, and then jumps right back out onto the other side. So we'll see. I mean, there's no guarantee on this. I could tell you that there was a massive amount of amplification with the models just a few days ago, and now it is backed way off of that massive amplification. I mean, some of the ensembles were going crazy with it. They were bringing it way up like this, all the way up to the top part of the square, and I'm like, no, that's not gonna happen, guys. Like, we definitely don't want to see that. But all in all, I mean, it looks like once we get rid of this little homegrown system that we're dealing with now, we should end up with a lull for a little while. All right, let me see. Release the ducks. No. Head duck. There you go, Bubba. All right, everybody, I'm going to go ahead and sign off here for the evening. I'm going to go back to doing what I do, make conference call to the team here, and then, enjoy the rest of the evening. So thank you all for joining us, and we'll be live again tomorrow night. I do not see this development potential going down, and even if they dropped the development percentage to 30, just because of the proximity of this, I'll definitely be live tomorrow night to kind of update, see where we're at, go over this. If I see any kind of significant threat starting to appear or potentially develop itself, I will definitely break in for extra coverage. So right now, not really. The only thing that I'm really concerned with is the potential of the flash flooding rainfall, and then maybe some rip currents. So, folks, just exercise caution. Please do not drive through flooded roadways, and monitor your beach flags. Have a wonderful evening, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Good night.